It would be impossible to overestimate the impact of this one book. Not only did the theory of evolution through natural selection revolutionize the natural sciences, it changed forever the way man viewed his own position in the natural world. Hi, I'm George Page for Nature, and this week we return to the Galapagos Islands, where Charles Darwin made the observations which inspired the theories he put down in this book in 1859. Although widely accepted by scientists, it is one of the most controversial books ever written. And to this day, there are those who consider it a work of the devil. In it, Darwin says that man is just one remarkable species in a world of related and equally remarkable species, that there is a kinship among all the living creatures on Earth, including man. Darwin's discovery was possible because the isolation of the Galapagos Islands highlights the play of evolutionary forces. They've been called a living showcase of evolution. Hundreds of miles of ocean separate them from the nearest landmass. And although on the equator, they're surrounded by cold polar currents, which isolate the islands even from each other. Our film this time is about those animals that live under and beside the violent Galapagos surf and nowhere else on Earth. And thanks to the latest techniques of underwater photography, we will see things that Darwin never saw. The Galapagos Islands lie 600 miles out in the Pacific off the coast of Ecuador. They have various unofficial names, including Darwin's Islands and the Enchanted Isles, because the old-time navigators had great difficulty in finding them. Perverse winds and currents took their ships off course. But the seas around them and the wealth of marine creatures those seas support are as improbable and intriguing as the islands themselves. The booby's dive parts a silver curtain of small fish. Even though the islands lie right on the equator, there's very little coral here. The water's too cold. The seabed consists of jumbled volcanic lava. The water, chilly by tropical standards, is rich in nutrients. The currents that bring this food are complex and can't always be relied on to deliver it. When they flow normally, the waters are a seething mass of fish, though conditions can vary, even from island to island. Amberjacks, hunters of the inshore waters. This strange-looking creature is a bump-headed parrotfish. A shoal of golden eagle rays. A stingray. And a giant manta ray. Like the manta, the whale shark, the largest fish in the ocean, is harmless, a sweeper-up of the plankton swarms. This one is more than 35 feet long. Nor is there any shortage of the more lethal species of sharks. 10-foot hammerheads are almost as common as the shoals of fish they prey upon. The fish are only part of the underwater scene. Green turtles are endangered almost everywhere else in the world's oceans. In the Galapagos, they abound. This is the only place in the world you can find a penguin on the equator. Most live south in the cold Antarctic seas. The Galapagos penguin is the most northerly of the world's 14 species. Even so, they only nest in one small part of the archipelago, and then only when the water is cold enough for them to breed. This is the only place, too, where you can meet a large lizard swimming beneath the surface of the sea, the Galapagos marine iguana. Pacific bottlenose dolphins delight in riding on the pressure wave from the bow of any boat that passes. Dolphins are common enough, but not a school of more than 30 sperm whales. They've been hunted out of existence practically everywhere else. Galapagos sea lions. Like so many other Galapagos creatures, they're a separate subspecies. The wealth of marine life in the Galapagos depends on a coincidence of currents and geography. Driven by southeast trade winds, the cold Peru current sweeps up the coast of South America, causing rich upwellings from the seabed. Off Peru, it's diverted toward the Galapagos, where it joins the west-flowing South Equatorial Current. These currents not only produce rich feeding, they lower the water temperature by several crucial degrees. The shoreline and inshore waters of this comparatively cold, often turbulent sea harbor a wonderfully diverse menagerie. It's impossible to venture far along the rough lava shores of the main islands without encountering the intimidating but quite harmless reptile, the marine iguana. The only marine lizard in the world, it's thought to have descended, along with the Galapagos land iguana, from a common lizard ancestor that reached the islands from the mainland hundreds of thousands of years ago. It has brilliantly adapted to life on the shoreline. The blunt snout allows it to graze seaweed close to the rocks. The powerful legs are ideal for climbing rough, steep surfaces. Their somewhat demonic appearance led Darwin to refer to these lizards as imps of darkness. The dragon-like crest serves to intimidate rival iguanas. But there can only be one candidate for the starring role in the pageant of the shoreline, the Galapagos sea lion. The original sea lion colonists probably came from California or Mexico's Sea of Cortez, far to the north. All sea lions are playful, but the Galapagos subspecies is especially so. Like most other wildlife in the Enchanted Isles, they're incredibly tame, both on shore and beneath the surface. The Galapagos fur seals came from the south, lured thousands of years ago by the cold Peru current. In the early part of this century, they were almost hunted out of existence for their thick underfur. Their recovery began in the 1930s. Today, there are between 30 and 40,000 of them in the islands. In an underwater grotto on the shoreline of the island of Santiago, the sea lions joined fur seals in playing with a strip of nylon rigging lost by a passing boat. And after swimming, a period of relaxation, often enjoyed afloat, using upraised flippers both as sails and rudders. The sea lions and fur seals are native permanent residents of the islands. The green turtles just visit the Galapagos to mate and lay their eggs. The green turtle is an endangered species due to exploitation of both adults and their eggs on tropical beaches everywhere. Galapagos waters are probably the only place in the 7 seas where you can be sure of seeing a pair mating. Not all courtship is as serene as this. During the mating season, the beach masters, the adult sea lion bulls, continually battle for dominance of territories and females. No single beachmaster keeps control of his territory for more than 2 weeks or so. The wear and tear is far too great. So mastery of the beach is always changing and challenges continually being met. The cows, meantime, manage to appear unconcerned. A month after the pups are born, the females are ready to mate again. This mother, quite exceptionally, has produced twins. She doesn't at all like the postnatal attention of the Galapagos mockingbirds attracted to the remains of the placental sac. These are Espanola mockingbirds. The beachmaster is challenged by the younger bull on the right, but with weight, age, and experience on his side, the beachmaster prevails. Later on, when he's more exhausted, the younger bull will have a better chance of taking over his territory. For the moment, peace returns to the sea lion beach. Where there are sea lions, there are always flies, and the yellow warbler exploits the situation. A mother takes her newborn pup, still trailing its placental sac, to the water for the first time. She's very cautious and keeps it in a pool surrounded by rocks. Sharks are always on the lookout for unguarded sea lion pups and will swim within a few feet of the shore to grab them. Sharks in the Galapagos become extremely bold in pursuit of prey, though there's no record of them attacking humans. About 20 reef sharks have cornered a shoal of needlefish in a small inlet in the shoreline. One needlefish leaps out of the shark's jaws only to find itself drowning in air. It wriggles back to the water to take its chance there again. A cold sea on the equator, a sea full of nutrients brought by cold currents and rich upwellings. Of all the marine animals that profit from what these currents bring, the Galapagos sea lion is always most in evidence. It's the prima donna of Galapagos waters, or perhaps the prima ballerina would be a better description. The abundance of life dependent on these cold equatorial waters doesn't stop at the water's edge. The rocky shores of the Galapagos are home to yet another cast of strange characters. Practically the entire world population of 1,000 to 2,000 Galapagos flightless cormorants lives here, around the narrow Bolivar Channel between the islands of Isabella and Fernandina. The strait provides the cold, shallow, food-rich waters and sheltered landing places which the cormorant needs. This strange bird was not discovered until 1896. The cormorant has wings, or rather, the remnants of wings, but they're no longer used for flying. It exchanged flying efficiency for underwater efficiency long ago, probably because there were no land predators to threaten it in the Galapagos. Courtship usually begins in the water. The female, the far smaller of the pair, at first dives to escape the male's attentions. A pair sometimes keeps up this ritual for over an hour. As she comes to accept the male, both birds begin to dip their heads in the gesture called snake necking. As he becomes less aggressive, they swim together, and strong surf doesn't deter them in the slightest. Eventually, one bird, usually the male, leads the way ashore to continue the circling dance close to a nesting site. The pair often display together at 3 or 4 possible nesting places. Circling on shore sometimes leads to an even longer and more complicated aquatic dance routine. This time, the female makes no attempt to escape her suitor. The dance now has all the signs of a well-cemented union. Evidence of advanced courtship is that they now perform not only the snake neck, but a throwback of the head and bow. Fortunately, even with such a tiny world population, there's no sign that this unique species is in danger. The courting couple waddles out of the water at the sort of easy landing place essential to a flightless bird. This is not a suitable cormorant beach. Powerful surf is of no concern to marine iguanas. This one's pink breeding colors match the warm glow of the octopus nearby. The iguanas are grazing between the tides. They're no danger to the octopus, quietly expelling water from its siphon. Eventually, the octopus decides to move away and submerge. After his 5-week visit to the islands in 1835, Charles Darwin wrote that he believed the iguanas ate seaweed on the ocean floor. Later naturalists contested this, claiming the lizard's food was limited to seaweed exposed by the tide. In fact, the iguanas do both. However, they are not, as Darwin thought, restricted to only one sort of seaweed. They eat several species. Their teeth form a very efficient serrated rasp for gnawing weeds off the rock. Who Sally Lightfoot was, no one these days seems to know. One theory is that she was a Jamaican dancer who gave her name to these red shore crabs. They fall easy victims to underwater predators, so avoid submerging whenever possible. Like the marine iguanas, they abound on practically every island in the group. That small black iguana is a young one, not yet ready to breed. The Sally Lightfoot's main enemies on the shoreline are the night herons and lava herons. This lava heron waited until it spotted a soft crab that had just shed its shell. As the tide flows and the rock pools fill, the marine iguanas start to feed underwater, just as Darwin forecast. Adult iguanas have been observed grazing as much as half a mile offshore. The smaller ones stay closer to the tide line. They swim by driving themselves along with movements of body and flattened tail. Legs play no part and are held close to the sides. The powerful legs come into their own when hauling out on lava rocks in running surf. Though they can drink seawater, they must expel surplus salt. They do so by ejecting a fine spray from the nostrils. Though the lava heron will take crabs, it much prefers small fish like these young mullet. At low tide, pools in the lava rocks are filled with stranded schools of them. On some islands, there are sandy beaches between the stretches of black lava shoreline. In the early part of the year, they appear to have been the scene of a miniature tank battle. The tracks lead to and from the sea. They're made by egg-laying green turtles. Most females lay their eggs at night, but this one is still busy at sunrise. A Galapagos dove mistakes her for a rock. The Galapagos is one of the few breeding places in the world where the green turtle and her eggs are safe from man. However, domestic pigs introduced by settlers and gone wild are a serious menace. On some beaches, they dig up almost every nest. A lava lizard, another Galapagos species, excavates her own nest close to where the turtle has just laid. It's a female in breeding colors. She won't do any damage. The turtles themselves do that by digging up each other's nests because suitable beaches are so much in demand. At last, the exhausted female reaches the sea. On a sandy beach, which the turtles wisely don't patronize, the sea lion pups are already boisterous and playful. When not chasing each other, they find a variety of playthings. That's a pencil-spined sea urchin. Anything that moves is fair game. A favorite sea lion pastime for young and old alike is pulling the marine iguana's tail. There seems to be nothing aggressive about it. You seldom see an iguana with the tip of its tail chewed off, and sea lions have very sharp teeth. The iguana escapes, apparently none the worse for wear. Birds come in for a good deal of sea lion teasing too, even birds as big as a brown pelican. All this play probably has a function in speeding reactions and alertness. Alertness is a quality a young sea lion badly needs in Galapagos waters. When the beaches are crowded with young, the sharks come in, looking for an unguarded pup. This shark, swimming in only a few feet of water, is quite big enough to seize a pup or take a bite out of an adult. A pair of young bulls decides things have gone far enough. Now there are at least 3 sharks in the shallows. The bulls were taking a big chance when they challenged the sharks. This adult cow's rear flippers were bitten off in a previous shark attack. About 12 weeks after the eggs were laid at the top of a sandy beach, the young green turtles are ready to hatch. Usually, the young go down to the sea under cover of darkness. When a batch waits until well after sunup, they expose themselves to all kinds of danger. The sleeping sea lions are no threat, but they might as well be a mountain range, blocking the hatchling turtle's path to the sea. By the time the first young reach the tide's edge, the predators have spotted them. A frigate bird swoops in. But the next little turtle makes it. The mockingbirds are quick to exploit any opportunity. To a newly hatched turtle, their long beaks are lethal. A Galapagos hawk is next. A disastrous hatching, but a few do reach the breakers, there to take their chance with shoals of predatory fish. Because the sea temperature is appreciably lower than anywhere else on the equator, the marine life of the Galapagos is unlike that of any other tropical island group. But sea lions everywhere seem determined to make the most of their opportunities to celebrate life. It's hard to imagine a more exhilarating tribute to life's triumph in the Galapagos than an afternoon of body surfing in the rollers off Hispaniola.